Welcome to One Take Weekly. I'm your host, Gil. If you're fairly new to the channel and you've only heard my disembodied voice on various videos, then this is a face reveal. Somebody on my Batman recap was like, bro, you should do a face reveal. So this is it, buddy. I hope you're not disappointed. And I'm here with my younger brother, Daniel. Say hello.
Hey, hello.
Yeah, that was a close. You almost.
I realized
your first word on the podcast. Say hello. Ahoy, hoy. We're a little rusty. It's been 2 weeks since we podcasted. Part of the reason for that is I was in Puerto Rico, and now I'm getting ahead of myself because that's on the agenda. Daniel, do you want to just jump right into the presentation for today?
Yes.
All right, today we are here to discuss One Take and various other topics. As always, the way we do this is we do a quick One Take update if there's anything to talk about. Then we go into the latest movie and TV news. Daniel, caveat.
That we care about.
Now say it more aggressively, like you're annoyed that people want you to talk about
That we
stuff.
care about.
No,
I'm not
more like,
talking about.
That we
yeah.
care about.
All right.
Okay, so there's a lot of stuff.
So
Oscars. Do you care about
We
that?
don't care about it. We don't care about it.
Golden Globes.
I don't even know what they are.
I don't care what color your globes are. Gold, silver, bronze. We don't care. So it kind of limits the supply, but we got a couple news stories. And then I am agonizing over a question. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to use the polling feature on YouTube so I can ask everybody. Apple Vision Pro, yes or no? I want to get one. I need help figuring out if that's irresponsible. We're going to get into that in a bit. And then we're going to do the Puerto Rico field report. That's why we weren't here last week. I was exploring the country, trying to see things I haven't seen before, do some adventure, and I want to talk about it. We're going to do this in a little bit of a different order than usual. Typically, we start with ironically, the stuff, the movie and TV news, that we care about. I think that's the thing that most people care about. Usually we start with that. Today, we're going to put it later because Daniel, he doesn't like you. Anybody listening, he hates all of you. He's got limited time tonight. So the last two things on this list, Vision Pro and Puerto Rico, we're going to talk about those first because those require a conversation partner. The movie news, I can do that without Daniel. So we'll save that for later in case he needs to drop. Sound good?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, quick One Take update. Let's do that at least. Well, first off, I'll just say, Daniel, this might shock you, but a little bit of analysis paralysis at the start of the year, trying to figure out what is One Take? What is the direction of One Take?
Is it a monthly snack box delivery service?
Well, how often have you seen me go through that dilemma?
Not often at all. Only 2 to 3 times a week.
How often have you heard a conversation that starts, Daniel, I'm thinking about taking One Take in a different direction. I mean, I literally was losing sleep. And I would sit down to work on a video and then just freeze up because I'm like, strategically, is this the right video to be working on? What videos should I do? So one night I couldn't sleep. I got out of bed and I pretended I was back in the corporate world. And I made a strategy deck, a presentation for nobody but myself that outlines the 2024 strategy for One Take. It's got charts in it. You saw it. I shared it with you, right, Daniel?
Yeah. It was great.
Maybe I can scrub it so I can do a version of it that doesn't have any private data in it. But after I did that, it was like what do they call it? The floodgates were opened after that. I've been so productive. I've been working all day, working all night, and I've got a couple great videos coming out. But I'm going to be very cryptic about it. I'll give a few hints. So I'm working on one of my big recaps. It's 2 or 3 hours long probably. And here's the hint. It'll please 70% of our viewers. And that's one thing we've been doing. I'm sick of creativity and just, trying to let the art flow. We just want to please everybody. So I've been doing polls. I've been looking at view counts, and we are just fine-tuning this until it appeases the most people possible. So if you go back through recent polls, maybe you can figure out which 70% of people I'm talking about. And then I'm working on a WERBA, a What Blank is Really About. I'm always working on one of those. And here's the hint. It's a contemporary classic. Post-2000, it's a horror, and it was in the news recently. If we were here last week, we probably would have talked about this. Do you know what either of these are that I'm talking about, Daniel?
The 2 to 3 hour recap, it's like one of two things. I can't remember which,
Okay.
but I have it narrowed down. The contemporary classic Werba.
Yeah, I
I don't
haven't
know.
talked to you about that one. You don't know about that one.
Do you think I can guess it?
No.
Do you think I've seen it?
Yes. But I know how you don't like horror, so you might have avoided it. You're like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I need that in my head.
But you're saying I have seen it.
Yeah. Well, I think
I'm
you have. Now I'm second guessing
um,
myself.
I've seen very few horror movies.
All right. Well, Daniel, any quick updates from your side?
Yes, I've been making a lot of progress on a variety of important initiatives for One Take. You'll see later this month I will publish
I like how,
our
by the
progress
way,
against our OKRs.
normally I don't do a black background like this. And now because you're wearing a black shirt, it looks like you're coming out of the background. Like you're Kingpin, where he's that big black blob and then just a face in the middle and into the Spider-Verse. That's you. Rob Cates, not Barbarian. I had thought about doing that, but think Barbarian is not old enough to be a classic. I think to be a contemporary, well, I guess that's not true, but I don't know if I would necessarily call it a classic yet. It might need a little more time to simmer. And it wasn't in the news last week, as far as I know. All right, Daniel, let's skip ahead. Like I said, let's go to the Vision Pro. Ready to talk about that?
Let's do it.
Okay, this is where we're going to start the clip for the other channel. Apple Vision
All right.
Pro.
Oh, I screwed it up. We need
ready?
an engaging start. You're just
All right,
going to
let me
say
think
Apple
about
Vision
this.
Pro because that's already going to be in the lead anyway.
Yeah, I'll just shout the name of the product. Okay, ready?
Okay, wait. Waste of money. Something like that.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Apple has always been at the cutting edge of technology, but all of that is about to change because the Apple Vision Pro is available for pre-order, but I'm looking around, and I'm going to add the sound of crickets here. I'm not seeing anybody get in line. How about you, Daniel?
I've not seen anyone get in line either.
So
Let me try
thinking,
that again. I'm just kidding. Wait, what are you going to say?
all right, here we go. I'm thinking about getting one. It's very tempting, but I got to the point where I was ready to say I'm buying it the day that it became available for pre-order. Just all of a sudden I got bit by the bug. I wanted it. But here's what I'm picturing. I love the idea of getting more immersed in my work. Like, I don't have too much of a problem focusing, but every little bit helps. If I can get 5 to 10% more focused than I am right now, maybe that's an extra Werba every month. And so what I'm picturing is I put this thing on and I can essentially create as many displays as I want and make each one as big as I want. So if I'm watching a movie, I could throw the movie over here, throw the screenplay over here, have my notes over here, and I can move whatever I'm focusing on, and I can change the background around me. I could sit on the moon and write. That's what I'm picturing. But here's where I start to hesitate. If you watch the presentations they've put out telling you everything that the Vision Pro can do, they mostly focus on the entertainment aspects. They talk about how you can have an encounter with dinosaurs. You can watch movies on a big screen. And that stuff is cool. But then they spend like 30 seconds saying, and you can sit down and put your email over here and your doc over here and you can use it for work. All right, moving on. And if working and getting things done is an extra feature and not the main thing, I worry about how good it's going to be. Like, typically VR, one of the limiting factors has been that the resolution is not great. It's good enough to get the effect. Like, if you stand on the edge of a building and look down, even if it's low resolution, you might still get that vertigo feeling of, I don't want to fall right now. But text doesn't look great. So if you're working, 90% of what I do is writing. But even like editing would be awesome. If I could get a giant screen of Adobe Premiere and then have a little scrubber at the bottom where I can use my finger to precisely move where I want in the video, that would be amazing. But they don't talk about that stuff. Literally, it's like a 60-second headline of, oh, by the way, also you can use it to work. And
they said the Microsoft Office suite is like actually built for Vision Pro, right? Like they're building a special applications for it?
Yeah, Microsoft, they're one of the first companies, I think, that have said they are, yes, Office will have native apps on the Vision Pro.
But yeah, it's really hard for me to believe that those types of things are going to work well on the first generation product.
Yeah, and that's always been the case. Like the first iPhone wasn't great. The first iPad, I remember the first iPad being pretty good. But at that point, you're basically just taking what already worked with the iPod Touch and the iPhone, and you're just making it bigger. But those people got a lot more excited for those. Part of it is just the price point, that the base model is $3,500, and that's for the lowest storage and the lowest chip speed or whatever. And then if you have glasses, you've got to buy a couple of lenses that go inside it, all that kind of stuff. So you're probably going to spend at least $4,000 on this thing.
Wait, that is the weirdest thing, right? That VR, like, that you need to wear your glasses.
You're looking at something far away in VR, but really it's on a screen right here, but you still need glasses to look at it. It's crazy.
Why can't they just calibrate the visual they're giving you to account for your bad vision? That feels so strange.
I bet Adam would be able to answer that question. He has a genius level IQ.
So does Alon.
Wait,
Alon,
based on
so
some
our other
online test he found.
Yeah, our other brother Alon took some like online test at like 1 a.m. that told him he's smarter.
I'm a genius. I'm a genius. He was like, in a room of 1,000 people, I'm smarter than 950 of them. And I'm like, what 1,000? Daniel 1, Daniel 2, Daniel 3.
So for our next live stream, Gil, I'm gonna research the lens thing. I'm gonna figure out why it is you need glasses in VR, and if there's a technology that enables you not needing to have it. I will report on that in our next live stream.
All right.
Sorry, in a room of 1,000 people, one's in the top 50. This is what we've been hearing for 2 weeks every day.
And I'll just say that I share an office with him, and we work next to each other. You know what? I'm going to leave it there. He's a very smart guy. Very smart. So here's the thing. Okay? That's my dilemma. Is can I actually use it to get work done? I saw one reviewer who said that he has a very hard time focusing, ADHD, and he said that for the 1 hour he was allowed to use it, like Apple gave him access to it, he said, this is going to solve my problems. He said the amount that it allows me to focus is incredible, but that's based off of a 1 hour demo, and he only spent a few minutes of it in work mode, right? So I think where I'm landing is I'm going to let it come out. I'll see what people say about it. I'm not going to jump the gun. The thing that it releases February 2nd, I think.
Oh, wow.
It's available for pre-order now. A lot of them are backed up, though. So if you order the wrong model, one of the popular ones, then you're going to have to wait till March probably to receive it. The thing that almost swayed me, though, I just mean like space. Like there's a 1 terabyte version, 512 megabytes. The thing is, though, I think if you get the lowest space, you're also getting a less powerful chip. It's not as fast or something. So you want to, I think, at least go to the 512 meg, which of course they way overcharge for all that stuff. Like they'll charge you another $200 to $300 to go from 256 to 512, even though the storage definitely doesn't cost that much. The thing that almost swayed me is I've been very careful with my words here. Not once on this live stream have I said that I'm going to use this to watch a movie or have fun. I said that that's a cool feature. I'm not going to do that. I would never do that. For me, this is purely a tool that I'm going to use for work, to write and edit. That's on record. It's a business expense, which means I don't have to pay taxes on it.
Even watching movies is your work.
That's true. But I'm not going to play. Well, I was going to say I'm not going to play games on it. But 70% of people, they want me to play games for the channel. So basically what I'm saying is this is a business expense, which means you can essentially knock 30% off the price because it reduces it's a write-off. I reduce my income by the price of the Vision Pro. So it's still really expensive though. And it just feels dumb until I know that I can use it to get work done.
So I don't want to bring up a painful memory, Gil. but there was another expensive VR product you bought. Am I wrong?
I don't even know where it is.
It's sad.
It's rotting in
much
the
was
closet
it?
somewhere. I don't want to say. I don't want to say. A lot less than the Vision Pro.
Oh, really? I thought it was like the same amount.
No. I think it
Okay.
was in the range of like $600 or $800. It
Oh,
was the
okay.
Valve Index. That Valve, I'm either going to give it to Adam or I'm going to sell it. I might have already even given it to Adam. I can't remember. But the problem with a lot of VR headsets is just the logistics. You have to set up cameras all over your room, which means you need a big room. And my apartment cannot fit it comfortably. So it's just not worth setting up. That's why I ended up buying the Quest, which I think is now called the Meta. It's a lot cheaper, and you don't need to set up a bunch of cameras. You just put it on, it's wireless, and it just works. So with that, and I'll admit, I haven't used that one in a while either. The gimmick eventually starts to wear off, but we had a lot of fun with it. Some of my favorite nights ever was going into VR chat with my brothers and just laughing. Like, I have not laughed that hard at anything than when
Gil,
we
do
were
you
in VR
remember
chat together.
we were in some VR chat together. I've only done it once with you guys, and there was some guy who just like wouldn't leave me alone, just kept messing with us, like dancing in front of us and stuff. And I was like traumatized by it.
Well,
I,
that
like,
is
didn't get away
when
from him.
I've had a few moments with VR that made me really see the potential of it. One of them is one of the first times I put a headset on and I played the Batman VR game. And just the opening menu, you're standing on a roof and you can walk forward a little bit. And like I said before, when you get to the edge and stare over it, you get the feeling of, I got to back up. That vertigo feeling when you're standing on the edge of something really high. The other thing that happened to me is in VR chat, where nothing in there looks real. It's a bunch of cartoon characters running around. So you wouldn't expect your brain to process it like you're interacting with other people. But I'm standing at the bar, I glance over, and I accidentally make eye contact with someone. And I instinctively did the thing where you look away. My brain processed it as making eye contact with a stranger. So VR is incredible. And I think it's, like, once they can make a really immersive MMORPG or something, people's lives will just disappear into that thing because it works better than I expected.
And I'm just picturing like the person you made eye contact with, like standing at the bar. It's some like weird squid monster thing, but it's still got those eyes. So you're like awkwardly like this, and the squid comes over to you, grabs your arm, and is like, "Let me tell you about my YouTube channel."
You put eyes on anything and your brain processes it as real. Like even Daniel, like I actually look at him as a real human being sometimes.
So I really want to get a Vision Pro now.
Do
We haven't
you?
even talked about. I just
Yeah.
looked at it and I'm like, it looks like cool new technology. I just wanted. I'll hold off. I'll assume one of you guys will buy it and I'll get to try it and then I'll decide.
Rob K is considering alternatives from competitors if available. There are far, far cheaper alternatives. The thing, though, is that the Vision Pro, the resolution is so much higher than any other headset. And to me, that's the main thing that stands out about it, because that is where, when you take a VR headset and put it on and you think, how do I improve this? To me, that's the first thing that comes up. Because one of the cool things you can do with the Quest or the Meta is you can create a little movie theater environment, sit in a cabin snowing outside and watch a movie. But I can't help but notice just how low resolution the movie is. And watching on my phone, it would look better and be a more, I feel like I would only do it for a movie I don't care about that much, because you're definitely watching a diminished version of it. But with the Vision Pro, though, I don't think that would be the case.
Is it going to be comfortable to sit there wearing it for like hours? Is that the
I think in terms of the weight, I think it'll be fine. If you do they have two different ways to wear it. You can put a second strap that goes over your head and takes some of the weight off of the front. And I've heard when you do that, most people say it feels fine. And I'll say that my VR headset, in terms of the weight, I forget about it pretty quickly until I start moving my head around too much. That was a problem I had trying to play Resident Evil 4 on the Quest, is that you have to whip your head around all the time, and then it starts to like slosh around on my face, and that's when it becomes uncomfortable. In terms of headaches and stuff, I'll say when I first started VR, I would get headaches if I wore it for more than like 15 to 20 minutes, but over time I get more and more used to it. So I bet you can get to a point where you wear it for hours. Though I saw somebody on Reddit, people were debating this, and someone said they're a VR developer, and he was like, migraines are just a daily part of my life. Just having screens an inch from his eyes all day, every day.
Yeah, I wonder how much research there is around how healthy it is to have screens just like right there.
Yeah. Eventually, they'll just give us artificial eyes, and then they'll just give us eyes that can do VR. And then we'll get the Neuralink. All right, what's the consensus, Daniel? Am I buying this thing or not?
Yeah, definitely get it.
Okay, selfishly because you want to try it.
Yeah, and it's 30% off.
Yeah, true.
The other thing too, I
Adam
bet
says on the eyes thing, by the way, having the screens an inch from your eyes, it's actually really good for you. Okay.
And that's from a doctor. You can take that to the bank.
We always talk around that. Adam's probably so pissed right now. He doesn't mind people knowing he's a doctor, but for no reason. It's kind of an inside joke. We've always danced around it. I'll be like, Adam, you are the kind of person who knows about blood and stuff in that vicinity, right?
We're going to edit it. You're going to bleep out when I said doctor.
Yeah, Adam's a boop.
What do you mean he's a boop?
Are you ready? Anything else in the Vision Pro?
I didn't even know it was coming out in like a week, but I like desperately want to buy it now and try it.
All right, people, comment, interact in the chat. Tell me if you want to see this mug behind a Vision Pro, and then I can review it. And then it's like a double tax write-off. I think that's how it works.
Yeah, every time you use it for business purposes, you can deduct another 30%.
All right, Daniel, I'm sick and tired of this place. You want to get the hell out of here? Let's go somewhere a little bit more.
Let's get out of here.
Let's go somewhere a little more pleasant. A place that's far away.
Yes. Is this a surprise? We're going to Gilville.
Let's go to Gilville. What is Gilville? Let me tell you about it. Gilville is a great town, a magical place, a place where there is no pain, there is no suffering, and everyone gets along. I'm Gil, I'm named after the town, and I've been sent here along with my brother Adam, not available right now, we'll get to that later. We were sent here on a secret grant from a mysterious benefactor to revitalize the town. Because Gilville's a great town, but the problem is, it's a ghost town. It's been abandoned for decades. These are our weekly transmissions as we chronicle our revitalization project. So some of you are probably pretty confused right now. I realized something last week, or 2 weeks ago when we did this live stream. We revitalized, we resurrected a podcast that's been dead for a long time, a podcast called Gil Reads Comics. And that made me realize we can use this live stream and just do podcasts during it. So I thought we'd bring back Gilville. So what is Gilville? It's a podcast we used to do covering our adventures in Gilville. And it's not a narcissistic thing. Like I said, this town is my namesake. I did not name a town after myself. I don't know why morons keep saying that. We haven't had an episode in about 2 years. There's a very simple reason for that. Daniel was screwing around in the laboratory and knocked all of us into cryostasis pods. So we're all frozen. So how are we doing this? Well, the way that we were able to go to Gilville and escape this hellish reality and still keep up our lives is that Adam, the professor of souls, and my younger brother, he built replica robots of each of us that went out and lived our lives while we were in Gilville doing the podcast. Our robots all did different things. My robot started a YouTube channel, found a gal, and Daniel was a Roomba, just zooming around town, going nuts. And now he's got a robot that looks more like anthropomorphic. So we're still frozen, but our robot selves have come back to the town while we figure out how to deal with that situation. So we are robots, and that makes the canonical status of this episode questionable. But any questions before we get into the content?
Yeah, how did you get generative AI to write out Gilville? It's so hard to get it to write text.
Yeah, Adam said the same thing, and I was like, I really should have used AI for this. I have been, the last 4 days, I haven't slept, making little clay elves, putting that sign together, and I was like, you're right, AI probably could have done it way better. So
I love this art. I love
These
this
are,
photo of Gilville.
These are the clockwork elves, by the way. They build everything. So
They're much
everyone's
less scary than I had pictured them.
Well, this episode's not canon. Keep that in mind. So nothing that happens here really counts. So every once in a while, to try and revitalize the town of Gilville, one thing I like to do is I will actually leave the confines of the town, and I'll go to other places around the world, around the country, and just see if there's anything out there that's worth bringing back to Gilville. If there's anything good out there. So recently, I went to a place that I like to call Puerto Rico. And I'm going to tell you all about it, Daniel, and see if there's anything that we want to toss into the Gilville portal and bring back here to see if we can finally make a change in this town. All right? And I think to have that conversation, we should go somewhere more appropriate. So that's one aspect of the podcast, is that we would go to different locations depending on what we were discussing. If we're going to talk about something a little blue, maybe less appropriate, we'll go to the bar. Usually Daniel has to wait outside until we're done. If I have a bone to pick with somebody, we'll go to the Gilville Coliseum and hash it out. And the great thing about this place, like I said, it's a magical place. You can't die, despite our best efforts. Daniel continues to nothing, So, but we can go as hard as we want. You can cut off someone's head and shove it down the neck hole, and then they'll be stuck in their stomach like in the stomach, and they live. So you can really take out a lot of aggression at the Coliseum. I think for this conversation, just to make sure nothing is off the table, nothing is off limits, we're going to go to the bar, I think. Give me a second. Smell that? Alcohol? That can only mean one thing. Daniel, what does it mean?
We're at the Gilville bar.
That's right. And like I said, there's no consequences in Gilville. You can drink as much as you want. I have a Taiwanese pineapple beer here. That's what I'm drinking. What about you, Daniel? What do you want to order? And everybody that's
There's
here,
no consequences here.
no
Maybe I'll get,
consequences.
like an alcoholic milkshake or something.
Do that. Everybody
thing?
that's here,
Some
help
Kahlua?
yourself. Help yourself. Have a seat, gather around, and I'll tell you about Puerto Rico. So first off, I was staying at a resort in Rio Grande. And the first thing I realized is that anytime I travel somewhere, I never pick the right place to stay. Because anytime we want to go anywhere, it's like a 45-minute Uber. The same thing happened. I went to Miami recently, and I was like, all right, let's go out. 45-minute Uber. And I think what goes wrong is that in the planning process, when I'm researching hotels and everything, I get so frustrated. And I'm like, yeah, this one's fine. And then we book it. And then when you get there, you have to face the consequences of your actions. The other thing is, I don't know what a resort is. Because this was a resort. But I thought a resort was like a cruise, but on land. Like in theory, you could just stay on the resort, not leave, and have a vacation. But in reality, a resort is just a big hotel that's spread out. And there's a pool. But otherwise, it's just a big, nice hotel. But it was nice though. Our first night there, we had some hibachi, which I haven't done in a long time, where they do the whole show, the volcano with the onions.
Oh, Gil, you always say that word wrong.
Oh yeah, how do you say it?
There's an L in it. Volcano.
Volcano. Yeah, I really struggle with that word, which there's a lot of words I struggle with, and I didn't know that because think about your real life. When you walk around and talk, nobody just stops you and says, I know what you're saying, but that word, you just pronounced it in a slightly odd way. People don't point it out. On YouTube, people are not people. They're inhumane. So
No, YouTube's awesome. You always learn the correct pronunciation of words.
when we were watching Dark, there's a character, Jonas. Yeah, Adam just said it. Jonas! Because the show is in German, but it's spelled like Jonas. And so I was always saying, I didn't know what to say. So I tried to kind of land in between the two and sound like Jonas. And people got really annoyed. They're, that's not how you say it. And so then I was like, well, okay. I tried turning on the dubbed version. And in the dubbed version in English, they say Jonas. So I was like, okay, that means that as an American who can't properly replicate a German accent, I'm supposed to say Jonas. And then people are like, it's not Jonas, it's Jonas. And I don't know what to do. And then you and I and Alun, we went to the 1899 premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival. And the actor who played the character on stage said Jonas.
I remember how excited we were. We both looked at each other when that happened. Yeah. So vindicated.
Yeah, that was nice. Oh, yeah, then there was a character called Townhouse, and I said Townhouse. And there was just this one really sad comment. Why do you say Townhouse? And just a crying face. So we ate at a hibachi restaurant, which that I'll say first off, I think the first thing that we should bring back from Puerto Rico is hibachi. Because that chef was great. The only problem is, you know how a lot of times they'll take a piece of shrimp or a piece of chicken and they'll throw it and you try and catch it? When I was a kid, they would always do that. And I missed it every time. And it would be really embarrassing. Like it would hit my face and then roll off. And I was a chubby kid. So seeing me with like oil splashed all over my face and like a piece of chicken hanging off my shirt was not a good look. It was not helping. So for years now, I've been practicing. The next time I see a hibachi chef and he throws a piece of chicken or whatever it is, I am going to catch it. I've been practicing for years. But
did he not throw anything at you this time?
Well, there was like a 4-year-old girl there. He was throwing it to her. So I kind of jumped in the way like, no. He didn't throw it. He didn't throw it. So all that practice was a waste. I met a couple, a very nice couple, a newscaster and a weatherman from Milwaukee, I think. And I wish I talked to him more. I was like, we could have related. But that's really where the story ends, because then it was that awkward thing where you sit at a hibachi table and it goes all the way around. So you can't just two people sit there. It's a whole group. So we were sitting with actual strangers, people I've never spoken to before in my life. So it was really hard to break the ice. Now, the next day we were supposed to go snorkeling on an island. We had this little plane booked. And we were going to have to get up at 6 a.m. to go. We'd already paid for it, so the flight was booked. But we were getting to bed very late. And to me, I used to live on 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night. But I can't do that anymore. And I was like, I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. So anyway, we skipped that. And instead, we went snorkeling near this beach and near San Juan. And okay, here's the important thing, though. I had a dream that night. It was a dream. I don't know if you've ever had this before. It was a movie trailer narrated by Will Ferrell. Like, I was not in the dream. I literally just dreamed a movie trailer. And it was, you know, Will Ferrell sometimes does slightly more dramatic roles, kind of like a dramedy. So this was the narration. I've been an athlete for over 301 years. I never thought this would happen. Everything was great, but then I died, like I always do. And then I was cloned and anthropomorphized. So this took place in the future where people love athletes. They're treated like deities. So like a few hundred years ago, anybody that was a top elite athlete, they basically decided when they die, we're going to clone them and then immediately age them up to the age where they can compete. And that process was called anthropomorphizing. And so I remember seeing images of, like, there was a funny montage where he kept dying in different sports and they kept having to reclone him. So he was like drowning underwater and dying. He would get hit in the head while playing basketball. But then there was this really sad scene where this woman was talking to him and he's an adult, but then she sees a child because inside he's just a kid and he never got to have a childhood because every time he dies, they just make a baby and then age him up. And then he keeps dying because he sucks at sports. So basically it's these 1 or 2 year long lives that keep getting extinguished.
Wait, and was it Will Ferrell or Will Ferrell was only doing the narration?
No, he was narrating his life. So he was the character playing this elite athlete.
It's sad.
Yeah, that was the first movie related dream I had in Puerto Rico. I have a second one. We'll get to it later.
Gil, what do you think that's telling you? Do you often feel like you're an athlete that keeps getting cloned and aged and then killed?
To me, I think it's I keep putting my heart and soul into a video, and then it's just out there, and it's on to the next one. And then I'm just like Will Ferrell. I'm dead and then anthropomorphized. And I know what that word means. So I have a very low tolerance for hassle. That's half the reason I don't bother with winter sports, snowboarding, skiing, all that kind of stuff. Just the idea of you have to grab a board and you have to get a helmet and you have to rent all this stuff. And then you have to hobble your way all the way up the mountain. And it's just, and then what if you have to go to the bathroom? You have to march back, put your board away. And there's so many snowboards that people store outside the facilities there. I know I'm going to forget which one is mine, the one that I'm renting. So there's just so many steps involved. And then on top of that, I'm very risk averse. And I've heard so many stories about accidents when it comes to snowboarding or skiing. A guy I used to work for, this super tall guy. So imagine when he falls, it's like a tree falling. He went snowboarding for the first time and decided not to wear a helmet. And so all day he's falling and smacking his head on ice. And one of those smacks, he woke up 6 months later because he went to the hospital and, well, no, I said that wrong. Sorry. They took him to the hospital and he forgot the last 6 months of his life leading up to that moment. And so he had a friend with him, but it was a friend that he only recently made. So he's like, "What are you doing here, Daniel? I don't even know you." They were minor acquaintances that became close, and then he forgot the last 6 months of his life. So I heard that, and I was like, I think I'm done with this. But how does that relate to Puerto Rico for the snorkeling? I wasn't worried about any problems, like I was going to get hurt or anything. In fact, the only time I got hurt on this whole trip, this is ridiculous, is that we were doing an adventure sort of thing, jumping off cliffs, rope swings into the water and everything. None of that stuff hurt me. The part where I got hurt is that they had us take life vests, and I didn't want to wear it when I jumped into the water. So I threw it in, and then I jumped. And then I tried to put it back on, and reaching my arm back, I pulled my shoulder. Everything was fine. I'm doing all these adventurous things. Then it's like I pointed at something and I wrecked my shoulder. But what I was worried about with the snorkeling, it's all these questions. It's where do I put my stuff? Like I have to bring my wallet, but when I go in the water, what do I do with my wallet? I remember I was at Disney World. We were waiting in line for the new Tron ride, which was awesome, by the way. But the whole time I'm waiting in line, they keep putting up these signs that say, "Nothing in your pocket." And so now for the next half hour that I'm in line, I just can't stop thinking about it. What do I do with the stuff in my pocket? And so I ask somebody, and they're like, "Oh, there'll be like a little pouch you can put it in, when you get on the cart." And then I'm waiting, and then I'm like, wait. I was like, "But where is this pouch exactly? Is it like Velcro? Is it zipper?" And then as we get closer, I keep peeking in to see where if I could find the pouch. So eventually, I found it and it was fine. But if it got me thinking that much when it came to a Tron ride, imagine snorkeling, nature, the fiercest beast among us. We got there though, and they had a bin. Put your stuff in the bin. It's great. So we get in the water, and immediately they're like, "Watch out for sea urchins. If you touch one, it's poisonous. You're going to get sick. It's going to ruin your trip. Oh, also, check out this lionfish. Get real close so you can see it. But if you touch it, extremely poisonous. Not going to lie to you, you'll probably die." Which reminded me of when we were in school, elementary school, and we learned about those colorful frogs. And if you touch it, you die immediately. I was terrified. I remember vividly walking home that day from the bus stop, and just my eyes were like darting around. Like I probably looked like a frog because I was looking for these frogs. My life is as what's the word you use when something is very easily extinguished? Fragile. This Will Ferrell, the Will Ferrell athlete. So we get to this one part where the whole floor is covered in sea urchins. And he was like, don't touch it, don't touch it. So I'm basically like Mission Impossible, when he falls down into the room. And then we saw a sea turtle, and I was like, this is great. And he goes, don't touch it. It's a $5,000 fine if you touch it. Can we touch anything in Puerto Rico? Like, if I just want to look at stuff, I'll buy an Apple Vision Pro. Anyway, overall, it was a great time, though. Except at the end, they basically hold you hostage until you leave a positive TripAdvisor review, because they walk over. They're like, hey, if you want to leave a good review, here's the QR code. If you feel like it, if you think I did a good job on the tour, which I did. I did think you did a good job, and I left a great review. And then I keep getting emails from TripAdvisor, and like, people love your review. This is how stupid I am. I see that, and I actually get the emotional reaction of, that's awesome. I must have written a great review. Like, let me reread that review. I feel like I really captured the essence of the trip. And then I look at the email, and it says in big all caps, 2 people have viewed your review.
Gil shifts the whole channel. Let's focus on reviews. Well, you already do reviews.
I'm going to be one of those jerk YouTubers where they go to other countries. I know Puerto Rico is not another country. Let's just cut that talk off right away, okay? But those YouTubers who go to other countries and they're disrespectful, I'll do a video that's like touching stuff in Puerto Rico. They touch a sea turtle, they touch a lion, fish, sea urchin. We start eating sea urchins. Just come back, my mouth is full of them. The little spikes poking out of my cheeks.
We do eat sea urchin, right?
You eat? Oh yeah, no.
It's a common thing in sushi. It's called uni. It's the.
Am I saying the right thing though? Where they're the little spiky balls?
Yeah, sea urchins. Oh. The inside is delicious.
Yeah, I've eaten the sea urchins in sushi. Adam's been periodically rereading his scathing Help review of his ISP when he lived in Wisconsin 10 years ago. You might have seen this weather. Is Milwaukee in Wisconsin?
No,
Milwaukee's it's not even in this country.
Again.
All right. Well, the next big thing was that rainforest I told you about. Which, first off, this one Uber driver, he was trying to undercut the whole thing. He's like, you didn't go to a rainforest. And I was like, I was told that we were getting taken on a hike through the rainforest. And I started describing it to him. And then he kind of just hand waved me away like, I know where you went. I know where you went. It wasn't the rainforest. I went to a rainforest. All right. In fact, they delayed the time that we went because it rained too much and the water was too high. So this was another thing, by the way. We were going to get picked up to go to this rainforest at 6 a.m. And so, once again, when you have to wake up early, it makes it impossible to fall asleep. So I get up at 6. I've probably slept about 4 hours. And I was ready for this. I got some 5-hour energy shots. I figured I'm going to wake up, down the shot, and then go. Why not a cup of coffee? Because I'm already going through all the usual anxieties while we're in that rainforest. What's the bathroom situation? So I don't want to drink a bunch of coffee. What am I supposed to carry? What kind? It says wear hiking shoes. Are hiking sandals good enough? All this stuff is going through my head. So I down the 5-hour energy shot. I'm getting ready, and then we get a text. Oh, actually, we're going to pick you up at 10 a.m. So now I can go back to bed, but I just had the 5-hour, so I can't fall back asleep. So I just sit there just thinking for 2 hours. And have you ever been alone with your thoughts for 2 hours, Daniel? Have you ever been alone with my thoughts for 2 hours? There's a reason I invented an entire town in an imaginary world to go to. And the car ride over, the tour guide, Brian, really cool guy. Like, you know, when you meet a guy and you're like, I want to impress him. I want him to think I'm cool. I want to make him laugh. But none of my one-liners were landing. I don't even know if people heard them because I was sitting all the way in the back seat. And this is a tour of 6 people. So again, it's me, my girlfriend, and the 4 other strangers. And now I'm like, I've got an audience here. I'm really going to wow these people. So he's driving on this really winding road and he goes, this is like Mario Kart. And then I said, yeah, we got to pick up some mushrooms. Not only did I get no reaction, I got worse than that. You know when people just look at you, don't say anything, and then look back? So now I'm gun shy the rest of the day. I am just looking at the ground. I can't figure out what to say.
That was
and
the
I'm
only
like,
joke you tried?
I tried a few others. I don't even want to say them. I don't even remember them. I blocked them out of my memory. I think I said something about, oh, God. They were talking about.
It's a shame. We usually excel in those environments, you know, when you have an audience to entertain.
Well, volcano. I think I tried to do a bit about how, like, can you believe those are a thing? Like the Earth, it literally spits fire out of a hole.
Those never land. Those never
It
land.
sounds like something out of Lord of the Rings. It was awful. And I was like, I only have one card to play. I got to play the YouTuber card.
You go, you know, I have a YouTube channel.
I have a YouTube channel. What was that? Are you all right? And he swerves the car and crashes, and that's how it all ends. I'm gonna have to build another robot to replace me. I have to clone myself and anthropomorphize the clone all over again. But it's a tough card to play. And so all day I'm waiting for a chance to organically bring it up. And then finally, it finally happens. We go out to lunch after, and the tour guide's like, oh, let me add you on Instagram. And then I quickly edit my profile to put the YouTube link at the top. He opens up the Instagram, and he's like, what is this? I heard this is what I've been waiting to hear all day. Wait a minute, you have a YouTube channel? And I was like, yes, I do. Bow before me, everyone. You had no idea you were sitting next to a YouTuber. And then the next thing I wanted to hear, he was like, what's your job? And I was like, that's it. That's my job. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a content creator. And like, you're going to have to calm down, sir.
You're like, I'm not a regular person like all of you. I'm a YouTuber.
That was the last day of the trip. That night, had an Uber driver. It was the Uber driver that kept trying to naysay me. Like, you idiot. You don't even know you wouldn't even know a rainforest if it bit you in the ankle. Where is your Achilles heel?
It's the back of your
so
ankle.
He's trying to the whole drive he keeps telling me about this Airbnb he's opening up. And he's like, let me give you my number so next time you come here, you can stay at my Airbnb. But then while he's driving, he holds up his phone like this and he starts showing me pictures of it. And he's like, this is the kitchen. And while he's doing it, he keeps like realizing he's driving the wrong way. He missed a turn. He ended up driving the wrong way on like an entrance ramp. He missed the restaurant because he's doing this, showing us more and more pictures of this Airbnb. But after so many screw ups, he could tell the vibe changed. Like I was no longer putting on the facade. I'm trying to have a conversation. And we get to the restaurant and he's like, okay, over here. And then I walk out. As I'm walking away, he rolls down the window and he's like, I'm going to give him my number. He rolls down the window. I walk over and then he goes, have a good night. And he closes the window and then just drives away because he knew he screwed up. He knew he made it so awkward. And he was like, I can't give them my number. Like the Airbnb, he screwed it up. He's probably still thinking about it. Over on his podcast, he's got a whole other version of this story where he's like, I messed up. Bad. We go into the restaurant. For some reason, we were craving Chinese food. We went to this sushi Chinese restaurant. And as soon as I walked in, the vibe was weird in this place. It was a very large but empty restaurant. We sit down. After like 2 minutes, the power goes out. And then it comes back on. There's this guy in there who keeps coughing like a bad cough. Like I feel like I'm going to get sick being in the same room as him. And we ordered this sushi, and without really realizing it, we ordered this huge, deep fried sushi. And so not only is that weird, but also the fish on the inside, the raw fish, is like lukewarm now. So the outside is weird, the inside is weird, and it was just a not the best like last hurrah meal to finish out in Puerto Rico. So I would say of everything, the stuff we're gonna bring to Gilville, we got to get the hibachi chef. We kidnapped Brian because he was so cool. You know, he could be the tour guide.
You kidnap him and just keep trying to impress him. Like, isn't this cool? We have a whole town. A whole town.
Like, I want to go home. Where are we? Why is everything made out of clay?
Let's go to the bar. Come on.
I'll take him to the Gilville movie theater where there's a deneuralizer, zaps your brain every time you sit down to erase your memory of the movie. So that way, A, there's no spoilers. If somebody spoiled it, you forget. And if you've seen a movie you like, erase it, watch it again. Alon was stuck in the theater once for like 6 months because the machine was broken. So he watched Aquaman. And he's like, all right, time to watch Aquaman. Sees it. Bzz. All right, time to watch Aquaman. So he's seen that movie over and over without sleeping for 6 months straight. Sometimes it can lead to a lot of extreme memory loss. So let's strap Brian over there. Forget about that Mario Kart comment I made.
He just has to watch one take videos over and over.
Yeah, Rob K is right, by the way. He said, I should have name dropped the very famous Tony from Hack the Movies. You know, I'm friends with Tony.
You know, Tony was in The Dark Knight Rises.
Who here likes Batman?
What? It came up organically.
All right, Daniel, anything else for the bar? Anything inappropriate you want to say?
No, I think my milkshake was pretty good. And I enjoyed hearing your Puerto Rico field report.
All right. So you want to get out of here?
I think I might leave Gilville.
Here's what I'll do. I'll drop you off here at Gilville, and then I'm gonna head back to One Take Town. And for everybody else, we'll talk about movies.
Wait. Don't leave me in Gilville. The last time you left me here.
Yep. All right. Thank God. Let's get the hell out of that place, huh? All right, let me change the background now. So let's talk about movies. Movie news that I guess I care about now that Daniel's gone. So let's get back to the presentation. All right. So the big one this week is that there's a new Jurassic World movie in the works. We don't know much about it yet. It's a complete reboot, probably a new cast. The main thing we heard about it is that it's written by David Koepp. And we'll get to why that's interesting in a minute. It's not a surprise that this is happening. Producer Frank Marshall, when Jurassic World Dominion came out, said it was not intended as an end to the franchise, but the start of a new era. What does that mean? We got to spoil Dominion to talk about that. So spoilers in 3 seconds. Spoilers. I never saw that movie. My understanding is that it ended with dinosaurs living among us. The less vicious ones coexist with us, and the more dangerous ones, the big ones, they live in a sanctuary somewhere or something. So nature is better than us. Okay, that's the takeaway. But we found a way to coexist with them. But that's how you get a sequel. You have a new Jurassic era where dinosaurs are among us. Now, why in God's name are they making another one? There's a simple answer for that. Swimming in money. The last movie made over $1 billion. The one before that made over $1 billion. And they cost less than $200 million. That still sounds like a lot of money. But these days, $200 million is like the minimum for a big budget franchise movie. So of course they're going to make more of these. But the real question is it going to be any good? Well, David Koepp wrote a little movie called Jurassic Park. He wrote the original. adapted from Michael Crichton's work. And then Lost World, I think the studios wanted a sequel. They got Michael Crichton to write another one, and then they adapted that. But David Koepp, they brought back the original writer to write this new movie, and he was not involved in the Jurassic World movies. So this is truly a fresh start. It could be good. What else did he write? Little movie called Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The Mummy starring Tom Cruise. And Jurassic Park Lost World. A movie that, admittedly, when I was younger, I liked it. But the key word there is when I was younger. I haven't seen it in years, and I know the reputation is not great. But even Lost World aside, his more recent movies have not been great. Well, but he also wrote Spider-Man 2002, Tobey Maguire. I love that movie. So it's a mixed bag. This movie could be good. It could be bad. But let's hope for the best. Where could they take it? What could the sequel be about? Probably selfish jerks do bad stuff with science and dinosaurs or locusts like we saw in Jurassic World Dominion. That's probably the way they're going to go. But I see a couple of possible routes with this premise. One, you can stick with the science route. We're playing God and we shouldn't do that. Or you can put that aside and just say, we have a new world where dinosaurs live with humans. Let's just tell a compelling story that takes place in that world. We played God. We learned our lesson. We're not playing God anymore. Now we have to live with the consequences. Imagine a what-if story where we did a movie that takes place in an alternate reality where there's dinosaurs around. That's the movie I want to see. Picture Mad Max with dinosaurs. Maybe there's a story where there's a certain area where criminals live. I mean, there's bad parts of town. Imagine a bad part of town with dinosaurs. Maybe there's somebody that wants power, so they go into that sanctuary, get a couple T-Rexes, and rule over some land protected by big dinosaurs. A kid gets stuck in there. Father, mother, they need to go in and rescue that kid. That would be kind of cool. I mean, I would love to see post-apocalypse, Mad Max, dinosaurs. I don't think they're going to go all the way to apocalypse, but you could go to, a bad part of town with dinosaurs. What do you think about that, Adam? The other big news of this week is that Daredevil Reborn might not suck. All right, let me start that over so I can get a good clip for the second channel. We all know that Daredevil is coming back on Disney Plus as Daredevil Born Again, Reborn for short so it can fit on the slide. There were a lot of concerns about this because Netflix was the darker corner of the MCU. They got into R-rated territory. By bringing it to Disney Plus, are we going to Disneyfy it? But recently, we've seen a big creative overhaul that might bode well. So here's the recap. At first, Marvel announced an 18-episode Daredevil Born Again series was likely going to be split into two halves, 9 episodes, then a break, then another 9. They filmed 6 episodes, then you had the big WGA SGA strike. Well, we have some time to kill, so some Marvel executives thought, maybe we should, what if we watch some of that stuff they've been shooting over on that new Daredevil show? So they watched the show, and then they thought, uh-oh, this show is bad. It's episodic. It's not serialized. Daredevil himself doesn't show up until episode 4. He doesn't wear the costume for the first 3 or 4 episodes. And it's a very different, lighter tone than Netflix. And that's a problem because people liked Netflix. So why are we changing it? So they went back to the drawing board. They fired the head writers, Corman and Ord, and they fired the directors of all the remaining episodes. They brought on Dario Scartapane, who wrote for The Punisher show. He's been hired on as the showrunner. They also hired Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who directed episodes on Moon Knight and Loki Season 2. They're going to direct the rest of the episodes. We got a new direction. It's more serialized, it's darker, and it's got more direct connections with the Netflix series. And then we just got some more news. Last week, we found out that Foggy and Karen are coming back. I mean, it's a mind-blowing idea. People like the show. What if we brought back the characters from the show that people liked and we continued the stories that people liked? And this week we found out that Bullseye is coming back. For some reason, Adam, you'll be able to relate to this. When we were doing Saulcast, talking about Better Call Saul every week, they would just tell you way too much information. Like, is Walter White going to show up? Let's just say it would be a damn shame if he didn't show up in 3 episodes for 5 minutes in these particular scenes and in this exact context. They think they're being sly, but they're giving stuff away. Do I need to know that Bullseye is going to be in 3 specific episodes? And that was at the top of the article. Can't we just let it play out? Punisher's going to be in it. We've known that for a while. That's not really new, but I thought it was worth mentioning. If we're trying to be optimistic here, let's look at the stuff that indicates the show could be good. The other thing that's coming out is we have no idea how many episodes this is going to be. They said 18. Now that's fluctuating. I imagine a big part of the reason why it's likely shrinking is that 18 episodes is easy if it's episodic. But if you're telling a serialized story, those are typically done in 6 to 10 episodes. So they're probably stripping out a lot of lawyer of the week type storylines and getting it focused, which I think is a good thing. But here's my question. There's 2 possible explanations for what's happening here. The box office of the MCU is going down. It's been happening with all the movies lately. So clearly Marvel's trying to course correct. We see it with Captain America 4 delayed. We saw it with Echo to an extent, the way they released it all at once and just tried to sort of rip the Band-Aid off so people stopped talking about it. Daredevil's delayed. They're doing all these reshoots. So clearly they're trying to course correct. But there's 2 ways to course correct. One way is let's go down the checklist. What do people want? It's like what me and Daniel are doing with the live streams. I'm asking people, what do you want to see on the stream? And we'll do it. We will be your dancing monkeys. That's one possibility. People want Foggy and Karen back. Bring them back. People were mad that Bullseye's not going to be in it. Bring Bullseye back. Okay, we'll do it all. The other possibility is they hired people who have a passion for the source material, and they said, go make a good show. The problem is that in this situation, either possibility looks the same because it's a no-brainer. Why start from scratch? People loved the original series. Season 2 is a little rough. Season 3, it kind of refound its footing. Why not just carry that stuff over? A creative person with a passion for the source material, which now includes the comics and the original Netflix series, would probably make the same decisions they're making right now. But the other possibility is that they are just, it's coming on down from the Marvel executives. We're going to try and please everybody. So do these things. It's hard to tell. So I'm going to remain hopeful. Obviously, I want to like this stuff. I'm not like Adam, where he just wants to complain about all these movies and looks forward to them failing. I was not celebrating when the Marvels didn't do well. Not at all. Of course not. Why would I? I was hoping Echo would be good. I liked when they announced that they're doing the Marvel Spotlight banner because what I want is more creative freedom. And there's a fear of deviating from the brand of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. All the movies are family-friendly action comedies. You don't want to deviate from that. But if you create a secondary brand, Marvel Spotlight, then people will be more comfortable stepping away from that. The problem is it came off as a very reactionary thing. Like Echo, I don't think that the executives were very happy with what they saw. So they were like, why don't you call it Marvel Spotlight? Confuse everybody. They're going to think it's like a Sony movie or something. And it won't tarnish the MCU brand. But now they're saying Daredevil might fall under the same umbrella, and hopefully they use it to their advantage. Keep the dark tone. Make it separate from everything else. Same universe, but we don't need cameos unless they're organic. Cameos are fun. I want a bunch of cameos, but just not distracting. So let's hope for the best. That was all the news I had for this week. There was some other stuff going on, but the Oscars, I haven't cared about those since college. A bunch of self-congratulatory, look how great we are. I don't need that. I decide what movies I like. I don't need some executives in suits to tell me. So I think we can wrap it up there. If you enjoyed this live stream, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more. We're trying to do this every week. We've been doing Wednesday evenings around 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern time. I think we're going to keep that up. These got delisted right after. So it's very exclusive if you make it to the live stream while it's live. And then it disappears. It goes in the vault. But if you want to see the replay, I go ahead and post that on the other channel, the One Take Podcast channel. I'll link it in the description. And then we do the thing that everybody does now where we chop it up. So I'll have like a clip. New Jurassic World on the way. Daredevil Born Again might be good. That'll be its own clip, that sort of thing. So let's wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a good night. And I will see you on the next one.